digress. So we're in the final week of poems here, and I just want to kind of go over some of these poems. Obviously, you can see how they kind of fit into this new, kind of this newer category of poetry. They're becoming more and more modern. And so the poets for this last week that I wanted to discuss with you are Marge Piercey, Maya Angelou, and Dwight Okita. So first, I want to start with this poem by Dwight Okita called Executive Order 9066. All Americans of Japanese descent must report to relocation centers. All right, so this is experimental. It's free verse. It's not in a particular form. And it's also experimental because the poet here, a man by the name of Dwight Okita, is writing from the point of view of his 12-year-old mother, who is a girl, obviously, a 12-year-old girl, writing from her perspective of what was going on during World War II when all Japanese Americans were taken and put into concentration camps or internment centers, whatever term you prefer. And I have some videos here to give you kind of the history on that. But what I want to do is analyze these poems. In particular, how the title tells us that this is in response to this action. But I think this is clever to use a 12-year-old girl's point of view to deliver the poem, and especially his mom who experienced this, and from her point of view, because she's innocent. It's not like she can hurt anybody. She's not a Japanese spy. And then also one technique that poets use is by using a child's voice, you can show confusion that you don't understand the situation, and then that helps you highlight the issue, and the issue being that innocent American citizens were treated like um, I don't know, enemies. And they lost businesses, they lost wealth, many were hurt. There's all kinds of bad things that happen. But I like a lot of the double meaning he uses here. What's interesting, for instance, is tomatoes are referred to as love apples, and they're supposed to be symbolic of, friendship and companionship. Sorry, 14-year-old girl, not 12-year-old girl. If you'll notice, anytime you're analyzing poetry, remember when you see something that the author put there, the author didn't just put it there for any reason. Every single thing is important. So when she packs her galoshes and her father says, that these love apples, these tomatoes won't grow, since they're symbolic of friendship, that tells you that, friendship's not, there's nothing good that's going to grow there. No companionship, no friendship. Galoshes, you're going to have to wade through, you're going to trudge through some crap, right? Also, bad spelling in a messy room. There's a lot of stereotypes about Asians, being, having, straight A's and being very well educated and always winning spelling bees and math and stuff like that, and being extremely clean. And this is supposed to show you that, she is American, just like any other American, messy and can't spell, and she's more familiar with a fork than chopsticks, and American hot dogs. Is I don't know if you guys know this, but hot dog and hamburger are kind of slurs that people in other countries use towards Americans. So she's like is eating American food like hot dogs. Her best friend's Denise. So again, it mentions geography class. That's supposed to bring you the idea of location, us versus them, the enemy over there, us. You're on this side of the room, I'm on this side of the room. Clearly, this girl is repeating things that her parents have said, that kind of generational learned hatred. Um, and so there we have the poem here. It kind of wraps up with this double meaning about how you don't realize it until later, but so that friendship, that opportunity you could have had is now gone. And so I just wanted to go over that poem with Dwight Okita for you. You're going to see similar themes in his other poem, but we also have this one by Maya Angelou. We have several by Maya Angelou, but again, if you'll notice, we have the intense free verse, very experimental, rhythmic. We're also dealing again with uh, racial issues, that we're seeing over and over again. And this is the idea of like Homage to My Hips by Lucille Clifton. You see that celebration of the self. Yes, I'm not that uh, skinny fashion model. I've got curves and waist, and maybe I'm not as beautiful as what society says that I should look like. But, hey, I'm the one that's turning heads. It's in my hips, it's in my stride, it's in my smile. It's very simple language throughout this poem, but extremely powerful. You have repetition, builds up an incantatory effect. You have the idea of positivity through the body, self-esteem. We've seen that as a theme over and over again. All right, again, I know I'm running through these quickly, but these are pretty straightforward poems. Cage Bird is all about being a second-class citizen, being treated not fairly, wanting equality. Um, you know, um, that's our nature, but sometimes there's these things that keep us back, and we're learned to be captured, but we always yearn for freedom, and it's pretty straightforward. Pretty straightforward. All right, Barbie doll. Now this one's a little bit more complex, and this is Marge Piercy, and I think it's a very good companion piece for Maya Angelou's Phenomenal Woman, because what this poem is all about is how social pressure causes people to conform, and ultimately what it's about a girl who all this is symbolic, but it's about a girl who conforms to social pressure so much and has plastic surgery to the point where she doesn't know who she is anymore. So here we have the girl child was born as usual and presented dolls that did pee pee and miniature GE stoves and irons and wee lipsticks the color of cherry candy. So all that stuff's supposed to be, symbolic, and here's where your symbolism plays in of the pressures that society puts on women to be what society says women should be, right? Mothers represented by the dolls and the PP, housewives by the iron stoves and the irons, and pretty, and a sexual object for the man by the lipsticks the color of cherry candy, right? Um, and that's what women are supposed to be. But for this girl, and the magic of puberty, a little irony there because it's a rough time, a classmate said, "You have a great big nose and fat legs." So now we have this symbol of like this giant fat nose walking around on legs that comes up later on in, at the end of the second stanza, and that becomes her self identity. And so the narrator's like, look, she was healthy, she was intelligent, strong, she liked to have sex, so she's good, all good. But she went back and forth, always apologizing, and everybody just saw this big fat nose walking around on thick legs. That becomes her identity. She was advised to play coy, play hard to get. She was advised to come on strong. She was advised to exercise, diet, smile, and wheedle, which means to manipulate. And then finally, her good nature wore out like a fan belt. The good person she was got thin and snapped. And she had plastic surgery. She offered her nose and legs up like an offering of flesh sacrifice. And so symbolically here she's dead, but what it is it's her, the person she was is now dead. Okay, so she's laying there in the casket, with that fake makeup on. She's got a turned up putty nose now, so it's like a fake nose. It's all snobby. But she's dressed in a pink and white nightie, so now she's fully a sex object now because she's had the plastic surgery. Now that's her identity, a sex object. And everybody's like, oh, she looks pretty. Oh, finally, consummation at last. Finally, she has become what she wants to be at last. Every woman a happy ending. And of course, we have, some sarcasm there that this is not healthy. And so Marge Piercy writes a lot about this, and this is very interesting to see how the idea of sexuality and feminism finally comes to play here in this final essay with this really strong symbolism. So, guys, I hope you enjoy the poems. I hope you enjoyed the class.